if you're too busy and you're trying to work and you're trying to do all the things and you're trying to bake and you're trying to be the best mom and you're just trying to do all the things, then when are you here? When are you there with, because a kid doesn't need all the things. A kid just needs connection.
Today, for the first time in the history of SmarterUmedia, we have a repeat guest, and it's only appropriate that she be our fan favorite. So many of you have seen the episode and the shorts associated with Poker is Life is Business with Lynn Gilmartin. When big life happened in her life, it only made sense to have her back. Lynn Gilmartin, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be your first repeat guest, to be here again.
You're a favorite. Did you hear that? Favorite. It's always nice to be somebody's favorite. We are here today to talk about something very specific. Moms. I'm a huge fan, and there's no better entrepreneurial energy in the world, on our planet, than moms. But before we get to that, we get to our friend creeping into frame, our friend the chicken timer, who's set for 2 minutes and is ready to let you enlighten us yet again. So go get him, Lynn Gilmartin. Make us smarter.
All right. I am excited to talk about my favorite topic. But before we do, okay, here's a little game we're going to play. And those who are listening or watching can also play along. Look around the space you're in and try and take note of how many blue items are in the room. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Remember what blue items you see. Now close your eyes. Now tell me what items in the room are yellow.
Got me. I have one, the chicken timer who's keeping track of you.
Well, that's a pretty solid one. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
And it just shows that where our focus goes is where our experience follows. And that we don't always see the full picture of reality. Our brain is always filtering what we're training it to be important. What we tell it matters. That's what it's focusing on. We're not always getting the full picture. And I just love that little challenge to remind us of that.
Wow.
So there you go.
I love it. First of all, as I'm looking around, I'm thinking, I really got a lot of blue items. I've got them. I have remembered them. I know what they are. And then you throw me the yellow curveball and I'm going.
And I might have chosen blue specifically because of that reason. I feel like blue and green are easy, but it's the same in life, right? It's kind of easy to find what's not working, what's broken, what's bothering you, and that we miss the little sparks of yellow that could just help ease that focus.
Well, you have 10 seconds to spare, and I'm going to let the chicken timer go because already I want to ask follow-up questions. We're going to talk about motherhood, but before we do any of that, the reason we're back here is because you gave me amazing news. Please share the amazing news.
I'm pregnant. I'm having my second child, my second son. I'm so excited.
Over the moon. And what I told you when you let me know that is what I truly believe. And that is, it's so easy, again, to focus, to take a little bit of what you said in your 2 minutes, to focus on the stuff that people feed us that's the scary and the bad and the whatever. And I am always heartened when I have any news that good people are having kids, because that gives me the ultimate hope. It is what hope is. It's the future of the planet. So thank you for being a part of that and bringing that joy to me personally, but being willing to sort of share the journey that moms and all of us have when we dared to do that crazy thing, like have a kid.
Yeah, right. It is the wildest, most amazing, most important experience of a lifetime, with great responsibility for the future of the world And thank you for also being that light and positivity when it comes to parenting and having the perception and the spin of, calling mothers entrepreneurs. I feel like I love that angle and that respect that you give to mothers by calling us that. Thank you.
Well, I will say that at SmarterUmedia, our true belief is that entrepreneurial spirit, we use all of us all the time in our lives, whether it's our work lives, our home lives, our family lives. And we may never start a business, but there's no way anyone who's ever been around a great mom that doesn't understand that it is as entrepreneurial as any human endeavor ever, ever.
Yeah, for real. You never stop problem solving. You never stop understanding your client and gathering a team, a village, leaning on people for support. Like there's just so many parallels. It's
It's
wild.
Well, let's go to blue and yellow. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go back to the focus point that you
Mm-hmm.
gave us, which is, I think, in parenting, as soon as you find out you're going to be a parent after the panic, right? First child, sort of, I'm excited. And then you go, what am I going to do? Then the focus comes and you start focusing on what that's going to be, what it's going to mean. How different is this second time experience for you already than the first one?
I love this question. Wildly different. I Something I'd really treasure about motherhood is how much it has changed me. I always knew it was going to, right? Of course, it's going to in certain ways, but just in ways that you could never comprehend. Um, and how much I have learned, and I know I will continue to learn. I feel like the more we learn, the more we realize how much more we have to learn, right? Um, but I feel like I'm a totally different person now to who I was 4 or 5 years ago. My son is 4.5. Um, I've learned to trust myself so much more. I reflect on my pregnancy on Bodhi, and I felt so vulnerable. I was scared. It was my first time. I wanted to depend on the advice of others, of the advice of experts. I wanted to get all the scans and make sure everything's okay and be told all the time, be reassured all the time. I wasn't trusting my body. I wasn't trusting nature. I mean, of course, we want to have support and help, but I can see now how much I was depending on that and not truly. And I feel the difference in myself, the surrender, the calm, the trust, that which is something that I slowly have learned over the last 4.5 years in parenting my son, is to cut out the noise as much as possible, and to tune in to myself and my son and what do we need, because everyone is unique. And if we keep doing as everyone else is doing, or we keep asking outside us for advice or for support, which of course is helpful to a degree, I think we lose touch with actually what is needed right here between me and our family.
And if you look back to that experience, if you're talking to Lynn Gilmartin as Bodhi is in utero and you're thinking of all of the overwhelming things that come into your mind and that people are trying to get you to buy things, all of the things around that, what do you tell? What do you, for the first go around, what were the things that sort of were helpful? What were the things that really were not helpful? As specific as you can be is helpful, I think.
Um, you don't need much. I remember walking, that's it. You just don't need much. Nature is perfect. And we just have to get out of the way. Like the whole creation of a human is happening without a single thought of mine, except remembering to take some vitamins, perhaps, But, all the limbs, everything is growing all on its own. And for some reason, we've been trained to think that then at the point of birth, humans are like, all right, nature, you can step back. We've got this. Like, what? No. and I remember Angel, my husband, and I, we went into a big like baby department store when I was pregnant, and we walked in and they gave us like the first time parent brochure. And this store is huge. It's got all the baby products, too many.
Yeah.
And the brochure had, I'd say, a list of 50 different items on it. I got so overwhelmed, I cried, and we left without buying a single thing. I was like, this is because you can't like, if you haven't done something before, you don't want to just go and buy all the things without knowing it. The baby comes, you just need a few towels, and that's it. That's all you need. And then you figure it out as you go.
And if things are problematic, you figure that out pretty quickly and find yourself getting sort of help that you need. But that's not what you're offered. It's such a big marketplace that every nuanced little thing that can move or whir or do or something, and a lot of those things aren't always helpful. I mean, we know enough now, we're learning that those things that we distract sometimes our kids, or the things that were, oh, this will soothe them, but then that they no longer can soothe themselves. It
Right.
turns out to be a real unfortunate thing in their development.
Absolutely. To not because we're, as humans, right, we're skill building all the time, and you see it in a baby, you see it in a young child, and not allowing the space for space, boredom, problem solving. How are they ever going to learn that then for themselves? Yeah, we're always filling the gap, making everything comfortable and convenient and just right. And that's such a disservice. So yeah, all these products are just noise.
A lot of that stuff. And, when it comes to the ubiquity of electronics and
Mhm.
what that is, I think it's very easy not to notice how constant the electronics are
Mhm.
around us. When you have a child, pay attention, because if they're around us, they're around them. And those things are incredibly alluring.
Yeah, they're
They want you
designed
now. They want
that.
you tomorrow, right?
Right. They're just designed to have us. We're all hooked. Like, there's no denying. I definitely fall into a doom scroll too often than I'd like to admit. Um, and it is so easy to lean on them in moments where you need a little break, or you just need to get something done. But it is too easy, that's just too scary. And seeing the difference in a child when they've had an hour out in the garden just playing make believe with sticks compared to an hour of watching TV, and the energy that they're emitting after that, the cooperation, the connection, the behavior, it's wildly different.
It's a great example, because we should be as practical as we can. I have seen you with Bodhi and the incredible joy that your son has in life.
Mm.
It is clear that you have found good ways for him to interact with everything. So, what are some secrets? What are some things that you've tried, didn't work? What are some things that you really think, oh my gosh, one of the best things we did was?
Thank you for saying that and reflecting that. That's lovely. The the biggest lesson for me is that I need to be doing less, and my husband needs to be doing less. We can't a trap that I fell into in early motherhood was this boss babe kind of culture where it's okay, we can do it all, mothers can do it all. And my motto became, just because women can do it all, which we can, does not mean we should, um, at least all at once. And I definitely fell into this trap of like, still just working at the same pace that I always was, and busying myself, like doing all the things with my baby, like going and bringing him out in the world is very important, but like my schedule, it was just busy. And then if you're too busy and you're trying to work and you're trying to do all the things and you're trying to bake and you're trying to be the best mom and you're just trying to do all the things, then when are you here? When are you there with, because a kid doesn't need all the things. A kid just needs connection. Number one thing is they just need your eye contact, your ears, your presence. Like that's just the most important gift that we can give as a parent, I really believe. And so that just stripping back the responsibilities that I was putting on myself, the tasks, the lists, which I'm still a work in progress sometimes.
As we
But
all
that
are.
I think is the most important. And then I see the change, the influence that has on him.
Lisa Barrett, the most quoted scientist in the world, neurologist, talks all the time about that simple reality that you just described. It is the connection from parents, particularly from mom to child, that transforms the life. And without it, it's different for the rest of the life. So the time that you can have, the time that you can be around, and we can't all be around all the time. You know, there
No.
are realities, get that, totally get it. But to
Mhm.
invest in just that simple thing will be a transformative thing for your kid.
Totally. And to find those moments too, because it's easy to also then fall into that pressure of the 24/7 needing to be available and present and fully present. And then that overwhelms you because you can't get anything done. But finding the magic in the moments that you can to really connect and not just be, because it's so easy then to just sort of half show up in all parts of your life, to
Yeah.
half show up in work and half show up in your relationships and half show up in your parenting. So just really locking in and zoning in um, helps to cut out that noise and show up in a much more present and connected way. Similarly to with the focus task, when we really focus on something, that's what we see. And I feel like it's also received that way.
For those of you who have not seen Poker is Life is Business, Lynn Gilmartin, you probably know, but is the host of the World Poker Tour, has been for 12, now 13 years, and has a full schedule, has traveled all over the world with the World Poker Tour. And you and Angel, your husband, figured out how to navigate that. To me, that's another real touch point because, we do talk, yes, it's the child. And so far, we've done just what we tend to do in our lives, which is that's where all the focus goes when the kid shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, still, there's a dynamic in the household that's critical between the mother and the father of that child, if you're fortunate enough, or if that is the relationship you're in. I shouldn't say fortunate enough. If that's the dynamic in your home, you navigated that. What did you have to bring to us on that front? Because you managed to do it. You guys just are
Yeah.
happy and finding your way. Not perfect. None of us are perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
you must have worked on that because it has to be thoughtful.
Yes, and thank you again. We are continuously working on that. And in a similar sense to what I said about, mothers and the doing it all. And it's the same as the entire family unit. And I do feel like, there was this fantasy in the beginning, which we did achieve because, Angel and we both work in the poker world, and we follow the World Poker Tour, and I'll be hosting the TV show and he'll be playing in the tournament, and Bodhi comes along and the whole tribe comes along, and that's all great. And it worked really well when he was a baby. But then now that Bodhi's a bit older and he understands a bit more, it's really hard to have both parents really busy when we're on a trip. And so now we're realizing, okay, it worked for the first 2 or 3 years. Now we need to shift gears. And again, it's always just that flowing. What worked yesterday doesn't always work today. And now it's a bit more of we need to divide and conquer. And this idea, like if I'm going to an event, then he's not going to play it, and if he's playing an event, I'm not going to play it or work it. And that's what's working now really well. And then again, that allows me and him to show up completely when we are at a tournament, when we are at work. We're fully there and we're all in. And then when we're not, yeah, it just that helps manage our own energy, because I did start to feel like, okay, this is starting to get a little overwhelming. I'm wearing too many hats. And yeah, being able to just stop and reflect and make those changes and face, okay, what's working, what's not working, is really important always.
And when you reached, can you think of a time or a moment when you really hoped that something could work? In other words, you could make some sort of change, but it just wasn't really possible? Because I think that's part of it too. I mean, there are times you try to adjust and schedules are schedules, and some things you just don't have the power to change.
Yeah, I think the real sort of decider was when we were at WPT Australia in Sydney last year, because I was starting to feel, okay, when we do travel together as a family, I was starting to feel overwhelmed. We're in Vegas. This was not last December, but the December before. And there was just, it's such a big event. We're there for a few weeks. We're both really busy. But I would put down a lot of the overwhelm and maybe like the excess. We're in another country, like there's so many other layers to it, and I would sort of attribute it to that and the jet lag. But then when I still felt similarly kind of overwhelmed when we were in Sydney, which is in Australia, which is only an hour flight from home, and all of the similar, we know all of the grocery store items, all of his usual snacks are available, all of these things that I was thinking was contributing to it. When it still felt overwhelming, that's when I was like, no, okay, that it's not that. I was blaming the wrong things. And yeah, I took a few trips last year solo. I went to Taiwan and Cambodia and Vegas last December by myself. And it was wonderful, because also I get to have a little me time. I go on and it's just sort of remembering, okay, my old self. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of mothers carry a lot of guilt with feeling the need to do that or enjoying that. And I know I first sort of felt like, oh no, I never want to like celebrate the thought of doing that. But actually, it's really important to go and recharge your battery if you can, and to focus on my creativity, focus on my career for a moment, and again, be all in on it, and then come back home and be all in on my son again and my husband and my home. And that feels really nice to, and I feel so lucky and so privileged that I am able to do that and switch between the two gears.
Yeah, but that's an interesting conversation. How do you get yourself when you have the pressure? It's not just your own maternal instinct. Socially, we absolutely just lay all that mom has to do everything that they can and they should, and if all of the stuff that goes with that, to get yourself over the line to say, I deserve this moment for me today.
Well, I think that's where it comes down to making sure you choose your partner in life really wisely. And we're always having those conversations and tuning in with each other. And we both felt it at the same time. Like it wasn't something that I needed to sort of give a wake up call to. Angel also felt that, like, okay, yeah, this is needed. And we both are just, and again, it could change again next year. Once Bodhi's a little older, then it could be a lot easier. It's just, this is the season we're in. You know what? I think I just need to go on this trip by myself. Yep, good. And then he is doing the same. He goes on a few poker trips solo, and he also feels that feeling of, okay, I don't have any guilt. I'm not pulled in these two different directions. I can really just be all in on the job I have to do.
And the village that you started to talk about is so much a part of it too, because having, whether it's parents or folks who help sit and have time that allow you to have enough space to have a life, that's a lot of organizing.
Yes.
It's like being on the plane when you're writing the list of all the things, even though you're going to be gone, that have to get done, which I'm sure you've done. Make sure that the stuff gets done, right? Isn't that what you do?
Right. Yes. Which again is why it's like mums really are the ultimate entrepreneurs. Like we could just run a ship with our eyes closed. I have so much respect for mothers with how many tabs we have open at all times, and just like nothing gets missed. Very rarely, I should say. It's wildly impressive. And also just seeing that the difference in how brains operate, where some brains thrive on just holding 20 tabs open, others just need to focus in on that one and just hunt on that target.
And I wonder about all of the, the ones that survived, the genes that survived through all of that seem to have a very different effect on women and men, at least in the child rearing side of things. I feel like men are particularly bad at multitasking, maybe period at all. And that's a terrible overgeneralization. I'm sure that's not true everywhere. Sure it is for me, but you see mothers, like you said, have so many tabs open. That seems to be one of those remarkable things.
Mm, yeah. But, I mean, I'm not a history buff, but I feel like it kind of, when you think of like the hunter gatherer sort of philosophy, and it sort of makes sense. It's like if the man's out there hunting, he's just got to stay focused on that target. He can't be thinking about all the consequences of everything along the way because that's too dangerous. And so it's sort of that wiring of like just focus on the end goal, get that done. And so sometimes in those moments where I get frustrated, I just remind myself of that theory.
Go, okay, you go ahead. You go and hunt for the elk. Go for it. You go get that thing. The mammoth is yours. But I think that it's good to be able to laugh and to understand it, right? Or to
Yeah.
somehow find the way to divide and conquer, as you said. I think the first chunk of time of having your first child is the most challenging period of your life, period. How long was that period in your mind?
2 years,
2 years.
I
Wow.
reckon.
I asked. You felt like the first 2 years were just overwhelming, impossible.
Yes, but I didn't fully. The first year, yes, but I kept thinking like I even used to say, "Oh, now I've got my feet back on the ground. Like, okay, now I'm okay." But then another month will go by, and then I'll realize, "Oh no, now I have my feet back on the ground." And it was such a slow, long process that you don't fully feel it while you're in it. Um, but it's not until you reflect and I realize, okay, I needed a couple of years. And that's why I think, and this is not to scare anyone off, it doesn't feel that way. It's the most wonderful, like amazing experience. But that's why I just think it's wild that our culture is kind of like, all right, 6 weeks, you're back to normal speed, you're back to work, you're back to life. Like, come on, mum, like get it all going. Like, what? The hormonal changes, the everything, the rawness, it's it's just it's wild. It's amazing, and that's why I feel like it just changed me in the most wonderful and powerful way that nothing else ever could.
And the specifics are worth getting into. I
Mm.
remember Robin Motor. I don't know. Have you met Robin? So, Robin, who was the first hire at the World Poker Tour after me, was uh, the most organized human I've ever known. I mean, no, hands down. For she ran the studios for years at the World Poker Tour and the like, and she had her first baby, and I saw her, couple few weeks in, and she just said, "It's too much." But
Aw.
you know that, and all I could think was that it felt like it was interminable for a first 1, 2, 3 months, and it felt like even at 2 months, it lets up a little bit. It's not. It's not. It's like
Yeah.
death by a thousand paper cuts. It's not like there's not another cut coming, but it's just a paper cut, and so that. But I found that to be an example again of her as a human to sort of go, wow. I mean, even the entrepreneur that I knew who helped launch this large brand business that today still thrives was overwhelmed by this experience of being a mom.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. And but I do like just the most invaluable support, or the most invaluable thing in that in that phase for a mother is the support, the village that we have, because I absolutely believe we are not meant to be doing this alone as a family behind closed doors. And so many of us are, and we're just trying to keep it all together. We don't know how to ask for help. And our culture really has forgotten the magic that's involved in creating another human being. I saw this wonderful clip, and I wish I saved it so that I could give credit to the woman who had said this. But she was like, imagine if a space existed on Earth where there were these gates, and it was the portal in which human life entered the planet, that they walked through those gates. It would be the most sacred place on Earth that people would come and pray to and protect at all costs.
Right.
And that is literally what every woman with a womb is. And we forget that. And when the baby arrives, it's all about the baby. And the mother is kind of forgotten, and it's just like, get back to it. And I think that's such a huge contributor to the overwhelm and to why and we put that pressure on ourselves. And I will not be doing that this time. Like, I am taking my time and not having those expectations to just get back on my feet, get back at high speed. And I think, again, that comes back to that focus and that presence and being slow and slowing down, that I trust it will be a totally different experience this time. And I do want to just say, in case I've freaked anyone out who's listening, it's not 2 years of in the trenches, but it did feel like it was 2 years of like fully coming back to a grounded nervous system, you know? Yeah.
Well, it's the ultimate joyous disruption to life, and you're never the same. And I
No.
say that the best positive way. And yet, it's the hardest and best thing you ever do. That's what everyone says when they get through it or past it or in it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And then it's also inspired Angel and I to just become the best humans that we can be. And we've never been so motivated to work on ourselves and our relationship. And that's also something that I feel, that we've been learning throughout these 4 years. It's like, okay, you've got all the parenting books and the parenting strategies, but I really think the best parenting strategy you can have is to work on your own stuff. I was about to swear then, but you just gotta work on your own stuff. You got to shed all your own programming and all your own, because we're just projecting everything through our parenting. What was or wasn't missing as a child, what we needed, all of this programming that we have. And when the parents are really connected, that just brings a real beautiful piece to the family unit. And then I just feel like everything else fits into place in a much easier way. So just work on yourself, and then the parenting stuff, I feel, fits it, it sort of flows a bit easier.
Modeling. I mean, there's no way that it's not really all about modeling. Doesn't matter what you suggest your kids do. They're going to follow your lead. And
Yes.
that's what finding yourself as to be the best person that you can be, that is the best chance you have of communicating that to the children in your home.
Right. And as a leader in any business, in the same way, right? It's just leadership in all forms. We've just got to check ourselves. And it is such a opportunity always to sort of have your weaknesses reflected right back at you in a dramatic fashion in parenting or in management, I'm sure.
It will come back regardless. It's going to come back. Whatever you put in, that's what comes out. That's for sure. You've said pretty clearly that a lot of the things that sort of surround you the first time you're going to be a parent, with that you have to read this book, or, whether it's What to Expect, which I didn't find to be very helpful, right? I didn't find it to be very helpful at all.
No.
But they've sold more copies of that book than you can possibly imagine. It's probably up there with the Bible somewhere, right? And so, but I didn't find that to be that helpful. And going to the doula classes and doing, I mean, really everything the first go around that you think you can do to be better for your child, it's hard to say no to
Yeah.
doing those things. But then you go into the process where there are things you discovered along the way that you thought, this one really works for me. These are ones that I go back to again and again, whether it's something you say to yourself, whether it's sort of a philosophy about it. You've articulated a little bit, but any gems I think I'd love to open up and share if you're willing to share them.
I think I just feel like cutting out as much noise as possible is so important, and to be able to tune into your intuition. But at the same time, so much of our intuition can be led by fear and led by our programming, and that also then I feel comes back to just always checking on yourself, checking uh keeping your programming in line, working on yourself, shedding back those layers, and that's when, okay, you just feel a little bit more um aligned and trusting of what you feel is the best decision in each moment, and less need to just constantly be asking others, what should I do here? What should I do here? Which is also very helpful to get advice. And then you also feel your way through that when you get advice. Um, Trust that feeling. If it feels like ick, or if it feels really good, trust that. And yeah. And so just less noise. I don't even want to recommend a book because I feel like that's just adding more noise, because whoever hears that has heard 10 other recommendations. I don't want to add another one.
Totally get it, and we tend to. That's what I'm saying is second time around. I echo the feeling that it's just not the same experience because you aren't there for the first time. It's something you have no idea. You think and it doesn't matter how many people tell you what it's going to be like. They won't be able to tell you what it's going to be like. So
Yeah.
you can read until you can't read anymore, and still, when you get there, the miracle of having a child that is brought up, onto your chest, and all of a sudden you at that tear-filled, beautiful moment of life is indescribable,
Yeah.
impossible to understand or describe every
Yes.
time, right? You ask yourself, I will tell you, you can often ask yourself the question whether you can feel that same sort of newness, uniqueness, unlike anything feeling. And I'm telling you, second time, just the same exact,
Mm.
exact beauty.
Oh,
You have that coming. I promise you that.
I'm so
I'll
excited.
give you, I was asking you a leading question, but I'll actually give you a couple of things that along the way I found to be remarkable sort of parenting reminders, self reminders. One of them, and both of these, honestly, I used in business maybe more than I did with kids ever, because they all apply. Human relationships are human relationships. But
Mhm.
the first one was, it's not about you.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so often when you have a frustrated child at whatever age, from, birth until, college age, if something's coming at you that, their frustration or whatever that thing is that's coming, to have a moment where you reflect and realize whatever's coming is really almost certainly not about you. It's
Mm.
not that. It's what's going on inside that person, that child's life and mind at the moment. And it just allows you not to have the defensive reaction, because we do so much as parents. Moms do so much. But that little bit where it's sort of, you don't feel like you have to go, do you know all I do for you?
Yeah.
It's not about you was one of
No.
those that
Love
I
that.
I went back to over and over again. And the second one is just so beautifully simple, and it's it's applicable to humans generally, but they're doing the best they can with what they have.
Yes.
And children, as they're growing at whatever age it is, and us as adults, no matter what age we are, our
Mhm.
toolbox is never complete. It's just not. And
No,
we may be just off the rails, but probably we're trying to do the best we can with what we have.
absolutely. Oh, I love that. They're two beautiful mantras. And another one, the first one that you said prompted as well. Something that I need to keep reminding myself too is that like I am enough. I'm enough as it is. You don't have to get things perfect. You don't have to have the perfect solution. In fact, that's probably the worst thing to try and be the perfect parent and to fix problems. It's, most of the time, I mean, you would be able to speak to this more than I can. My kid's only 4, but if you come in trying to solve their problems and come in with a solution, I feel like you probably get met with more resistance rather than just being a really dependent ear for them to lean on.
Being there, you said it earlier. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the reality of that thing, it's the best Zen experience you could ever get. Zen training is parenting, or parenting is Zen training. It's it's the thing. It's sort of you will you will do your best, but every moment that you can find yourself actually present is a moment that will benefit everyone in the equation.
Yes. Oh, and yeah, I love what you said, right? Like, because if you're just present, then you're able and you remind yourself it's not about you. You're not then in your head giving yourself that pressure to show up with a reply. You can just listen. Just be there and listen, which is what we were talking about in the last podcast, right? Like how so many conversations we're not really that present in because we're so occupied with, oh, what can I say that's clever next? Rather than just hearing someone. Yeah, it's just the same in parenting. Yeah.
Um, I have no idea what to say next because I was trying not to figure out what to say next.
Point proven.
One of the things that I think what I share is the singing the song and dancing the dance of life. We like life. We enjoy life. We enjoy daily experience. There's nothing better than having that with your children. What things do you feel like you really figured out, or moments or bits that you did? I, by the way, have lots of bits, which I've told my kids I don't need any credit for, but I want them to repeat as many of them as they can to have fun with your kids.
Yeah, I mean, just play, just like, and getting involved in the play. And for us, we bought a record player recently, and it's just been such a cool addition to our house. And we have it down at a level like Bodhi, he's very careful, and so he can use it, and he knows to be very delicate with the records and the little pin. But him being able to just go and like grab a record and change it over and have that little piece of power to be the DJ, and then it would just always turns into a dance party. Um, having like intentionally setting up opportunities like that in the house, like a little music corner, and I'll always have the Lego out and always want to have things that are just easily accessible to just have spontaneous moments of play. Um, is just so wonderful and so important. Um, yeah.
I
Is
like
that what you meant? Well, when you
Yeah,
said bit,
totally. I
I
mean,
don't know bits. I want to hear about your bits.
having a record player and just sort of literally dancing, doing playing music, doing having that sort of joy be a part of your life is a big deal. We used to play hop on pop, and I don't know if you were there was a book that had hop on pop in it. I don't know if that's where the name came from, but it
Yeah.
was just on the bed, on the the main bedroom bed, and the
Mhm.
kids would come and they just got a chance to belly womp on dad. I'd flip them upside down
Yeah.
and do things that probably would frighten most parents to ever do with their kids, but it was just unadulterated. We're having a wrestling match on a crazy mattress surface, and we just had
Yeah.
more. They'd say, "Can we play up on pop?" And I'd say, "You bet you can. Let's go."
Oh, that's such a nice name. We call it fighting game. We Angel and Bodhi, and they just every night before bed, it's on, and it's yeah, the same description. Hop on pop. That's cute. Maybe we'll use that.
Yes, I mean that sort of thing that just is time that you may not. It's not planned. It's not a thing, but it becomes something you remember forever because it's the way that you interact. Get a chance to be with your dad or be with your mom doing the thing, whatever the thing is.
Yeah. And having the spaces that are just easy to access. It's so nice to have a tidy, organized home, but if everything's kind of tucked away, it does remove that opportunity for spontaneity. And I have like a little art studio set up outside, which was always my dream. And so like I've got all the canvases and the paints just sprawled out on the table all the time. Rather than tucking them away, then you just don't pull them out. It's just too hard. So if they're just there and
Yeah.
available, then you will just take 10 minutes to quickly have a little painting session, and that feels nice, and then you move on. Yeah.
One of the things you never saw my office at the World Poker Tour because that's the way the timing worked. But there was a gigantic painting on my wall that looked very, impressionistic, modern, and the like, that had a very swanky description beside it about all the places that the artists had had their art. And of course, it was really just the two kids one weekend that just gave them any paints they wanted and said
Yes.
half of them got, Zoe got one, Henry got the other half. And they made this fantastic painting, which was on the big wall that we would sit in meetings so that I
Oh,
could say to people, what do you think about the art?
that's so cool. And what a beautiful, like, programming for them, right? Like, dad is so proud of us and our work that he puts it up in his important space for his important meetings. Like, that's wonderful.
Well, we did. We just continued to have a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
as you look for the having a second child, one of the things people always, yeah, there's a there back to a book, so I will give a book name, which is Siblings Without Rivalry, and it's one that I don't know that you necessarily need to read, but the description of what the feeling was for a first child when a second child comes home is one that I
Mm.
really loved. And it was sort of, imagine that your spouse came home one day and said, dear, I love I love you so much that I'm going
Mm.
to bring another spouse. Doesn't mean that I love you any less. It doesn't mean any of that. There's so much love that we can have. And I sort of went, oh, yeah, that is pretty wild.
Penny drop moment.
And it's fabulous because I honestly, I can't imagine our kids' lives without them having each other and all of
Mm.
those things. But it's a moment, it's a
Yeah.
big thing. Bodhi has been the center of the everything, and that changes, and it can all be navigated. But it's a moment in his life.
What do you think, what do you feel like you did right to help alleviate that suffering?
I just think it's hysterical because we as parents just imagine that that moment's going to be one of those that it's adoring you. We've set it up. We talk about how wonderful it is that this child's coming into our world. Isn't that great? And put the child in the other child's arms, and about a minute they're going, okay, that's good. Are we done here?
Yeah. Can we give it back now?
And I think that's just perfectly reasonable. I don't think it should
Mm.
be any surprise. And the answer is, I don't know. None of us do anything perfectly wonderful or whatever. But I would say that they in time become best buds because they're
Yeah.
who they have.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
want to play a game, you get the other sibling to be a part of it because that's who you have. And I think
Right.
very simplistically, that's probably the biggest part of how it kind of just works out, maybe. I don't know.
It is really cute. He thinks about the baby every day. He's coming up with ideas. He the other day he says, "Oh, mum, we should buy a t-shirt for the baby so that the baby has clothes when he gets here. Like his brain's just always ticking. It's really sweet, but like thinking of how he can help and what he can do. And so yeah, hopefully we can just keep that energy going, and 2 weeks in, the novelty doesn't wear off on him too hard.
It's kind of never the same in any two kids or any two families, I think.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I say cut out the noise, because what worked for one family, it probably won't work for yours. So just tune in, be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to this conceit of moms as entrepreneurs. Once you're driving people, it becomes this great scheduler schedule.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we're actually choosing to homeschool Bodhi. So it is quite a schedule. He's got little classes all over town, all week long. And because that's what's really fun about this age, is just sort of trying it all and just seeing what he likes, what sticks, and just sort of feeling it all out. But yeah, I think that might be quite helpful with the 5-year age gap as well, though, in terms of that schedule. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But it's all about flowing.
We'll see how that works. And you can talk about as much or as little as you want or what you're comfortable with, but I think that we live in a time that is not one size fits all, and people make decisions like homeschooling or particular schools that may not be what is provided just in your county within your part of the world. And I know you've made some of those decisions. We did too. I think it's kind of lovely to have other options.
Yeah, it's that's also been a wonderful learning experience as a mother, to realize I don't have to do as everyone else is doing simply because that's what's done. You can question what's normal, which also goes back to, I think I was recommending Gabor Mate, The Myth of Normal, in the last podcast,
Yeah,
which is what really empowered me to question, okay, so why do I need to send him off to school 5 days a week at 4.5, 5 years old? It's so little. And if
yeah,
I don't have to, I understand that some parents, they need
sure.
to, but I don't have to, and I don't want to. So I'm not going to. And it's as simple as that. And then I started to do research, and the community that we live in, homeschooling is actually really quite common. So there is so much support, there's so much community, and that got me really excited to start learning about all the other options and alternative schools. And every Monday he's now a part of this wonderful little class of just 8 kids with this tutor, who they're out in nature and they're down by the creek playing for half of the day, and then singing songs and learning their alphabets and learning how to write their name for the other half of the day. And that's just every Monday. It doesn't have to be 5 days. He's still so little. And that's just been really fun. And to then pick and choose as well, and tune in really with him, what he likes, what teachers he's resonating with, and that, just having a bit more agency is quite empowering as a parent. And I'm really enjoying that part of this journey. Yeah.
To have choices and to find ways that you can make it work for you, because it's not one size fit. It never was one size fits all, but we
Yeah.
made it that way. I mean, it was
Right.
sort of, you really didn't have much in the way of options to do something else, to opt out, to go and try another way. And I think our lives are richer by having people that have different experiences. I mean, I think culturally we're richer if we have different experiences.
Yeah. And then the community that you're intentionally building in doing that also it's so lovely. And we have some neighbors that are part of our little homeschool group now, and because that's always the first question I get is, oh, what are you going to do about socialization? Because people perceive that there's still this perception that homeschool means just copying the school system of a desk at
Yeah.
home. in solitude, and it's complete opposite. But it's so there's just so much community spirit and variety that it feels actually quite the opposite. It feels far more social than, than going to school.
And intentional, because
Mhm.
you have much more control over sort of what that environment can be
Right.
than just showing up and, the hard knocks of going in there and just assimilating, which I think is part of what it's been. I like a world where we have lots of different people with lots of different perceptions from their past.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
my lived experience at school wasn't particularly the best. I feel like most of my traumas that I'm undoing as an adult were because of that. So, there's that too. Like I just, yeah, the programming and the competition and the comparison, the wanting to fit in, all of that, just from such a young age. It's just so little. Um,
Yeah.
it's nice to not have to repeat that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it continues. So as a parent, this is one of those things that when we moved from Los Angeles to Santa Fe, part of the
Mm.
motivation was truly that the kids were getting to an age where already there was this system set up of what you needed to do for your kids to be able to excel, to get to that place that was where you need your kids to get into the four universities or whatever that
Mhm.
were the ones that all kids should aspire to get into. And the pressure for the not just the kids, but for the parents was very real and didn't feel very healthy at all. I mean, at a very young age. We're talking 8 years old, 10 years old, not old, not old.
Wow.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you don't get into the right middle school, then you have very little chance of getting into the right high school that will
Yeah.
then package you up and sell you to the particular, institutions. Pretty wild, though.
I know the pressure that comes with, and now looking at how dramatically fast things are evolving as well, in terms of the world education. Who knows? It's just like, how do we know? But also, we don't even know, because I remember too when Bodhi was a baby, people were asking, "Well, have you put him on lists for private schools yet?" And this was before we realized that we wanted to homeschool, and I was like, "Oh." Gosh, he was a baby and we were late. So we went and we put him on 4 different lists of these, fancy schools here. And I'm like, but I don't know. I don't even know if we'll still be living here. We've always been traveling, like we've been gypsies. Like, you can't, how do you plan that? Yeah, it's, again, it's all about the surrender and the flow. And I think that's the ultimate key.
Well, I think the best thing you can possibly do is love your kids and be there, and that's the ultimate secret sauce of moms as entrepreneurs is that there's nothing like a mother's love. A
Yeah.
dad's love's
And
great,
a
but there's
dad's
nothing
love.
like a mother's love.
Oh, they're both beautifully important loves in a child's life.
Well, there you go. We have once again made it through an hour of chatting about life, the universe, and entrepreneurship. And I'm so glad that you came back to do
Thank you.
that. We always end with the curation thing. Now, I know you've told us multiple times that you're not going to give us a book. So we're not asking for a book. But is there any sort of information source you found particularly helpful on the parenting side of things? Is there whether I don't know a website, a person or podcast or anything that you find useful?
I mean, well, my the biggest support that I've had is I have a wonderful therapist, and having some kind of support. I know that's not available to everyone, but
Yeah,
just again to go back to that idea of the self-reflecting, working on yourself is so key to just living a full life and showing up as the best parent that you can in each moment. And if it's not that, then just finding, there's so many wonderful community groups like men's circles, women's circles. Um, to just gather and have deep, rich conversations that are self-reflective. And um, I think that is so important and so helpful. And even if it has nothing to do with parenting directly, if it's just about the human spirit, the human relationships, and the human experience, then that will, you know, help in parenting as well. So gathering a community and working on yourself.
I love going right back to the beginning, which is, we're best parents when we are better ourselves. So
Yeah.
give yourself the meditation time in the morning, give yourself the things that you need to be in a space that makes you better for you and makes you a better parent.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Well, you inspire me each and every time. Lynn Gilmartin, thank you for showing up and being our first repeat guest on Smarter You Media. You're just
Thank
absolutely
you.
awesome.
You rock. Thanks, Steve.
Look out, we'll have you back again.
I would love to.